There's a hiccup. Hold on. Staff from there.
And now for our feature presentation.
If there's anything we've ever done that I'm particularly proud of, I would have to say that the perpetuation of the greatness of the Raiders, to take a professional football team and give it a distinct characteristic that's different from all others.
The greatness of the Raiders. Some may scoff, but what other pro sports team is instantly identified with a song like this one?
I had a dream that someday I would build the finest organization in professional sports. There's a commitment to excellence, the greatest players. The flame that would burn brightest here is the will to win. Just win. Play hard. Try not to make mistakes. But don't worry about mistakes, because there's only one thing that counts. Just win.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Yo, welcome back to another edition of Q&A with your boy Q and myself, Joe Arrigo. Hopefully you're having a great evening tonight, today, whenever you're listening to this. We got Q's not going to be in today. He had something to take care of last minute, so I asked my boy Knight to jump on, and he's going to jump in on some topics when we got him. But overall, it's Q&A. It's what, you know how we do it on Q&A. You keep it lively, keep it fresh. Knight, how you doing, brother? Thank you for joining me tonight.
Good, brother. I'm glad I was able to fill in, bro, and just, talk some Raider football. It's what I love to do.
This is a part of SB Nation's podcast network, the Silver and Black Pride Podcast Network, as well as Franchise Sports Media's the Franchise Raiders Podcast Network as well. So I want to thank everybody for joining in on Periscope, Twitter. What else we got? YouTube. Follow us on YouTube, the Franchise LV, Twitter as well, IG. What's up, my man Joe out in Las Vegas? What's going on, Rodney? Can't forget about Sean in the Bay Yay area. We got everything we're talking now is Raiders. Still repping my UNLV right here. Can't forget about my Rebels. And tonight, if you see me sipping, and there's no pun intended, I'm sipping Corona Premier. That is the libation for the evening tonight. So, man, I love y'all. Thank you for joining me. Sorry for the hiatus, man. Look, I'm going to tell you guys what happened. I'm going to always keep it 100 with you like Q and I always do. Here's what the deal is. California passed some law. Their governor Newsom passed some law saying you can only do 36 if you're independently contracted, like all of us are with SB Nation, and then not with the franchise, but with SB Nation, you can only do 36 articles or shows a year. So really puts a limit on what we can do. So we're trying to figure out ways to get around it. Q's been hella busy down there in Texas. I mean, he does his lockdown show. He does that a little bit, during the day and puts it out. So it's just crazy. So, hey, what up, Big Gus? We also are doing, so it's just weird. That's the way this new law is. So if you're independently contracted, you can only do so many. So we had to kind of push some shows back so we can give you more as the season goes on. That's been the delay. But I promise you, on Franchise, if you go to Franchise Sports Network, we're going to have a bunch of shows probably daily for you. That's the way things are looking. And then obviously keep it locked to the Silver and Black Pride Podcast Network. You know what I mean? IE in the building, Raiders 343. What's going on, IE? Stand up, Southern California. Man, I love the IE. That's home. So check this out. Watts Raider, what's good, fam? No TQ tonight, brother, but we'll get him on soon. So tonight we're going to talk about all the Raiders free agency stuff. We're gonna recast some stuff you seen me and Knight talk about yesterday. If you guys check this out on the Franchise Raiders podcast show, and then obviously we're gonna get into everything that's going forward with the draft. I'm also going to preview what I did in the mock draft that I did during today. That's going to come out tomorrow on Franchise Sports Media. That right there is something that's going to be pretty big. We're working on getting the phone lines up as well. We will, if we can, we will. If not, we're gonna jump on and make sure the next time we do it, if it's not Q&A, if it's a Franchise Raiders podcast, we'll get the phone lines up so you guys can call in. Definitely want to hear your opinions about what the Raiders are doing. So the big topic I see right now in the comments is Darius Slay and the Raiders DB situation. Let's start today and work back. Today, the Raiders signed Eli Apple. I'm going to give you the insight what happened with Chris Harris and what happened there, and then we'll flip it and go backwards. You guys ready for this? All right, let's get it popping right here. So with Chris Harris, the Raiders offered him more money in a 3-year deal, but he liked the framework of the Chargers roster more than the Raiders. And quite frankly, if you're looking at it just from a football perspective, if you take off the goggles and look at it just from the football perspective, when you got Joey Bosa, when you have Ingram, when you have Perryman, when you have Derwin James, when you have what's my other corner? Casey Hayward, King, you have a great set. You have a great set of folks on the defense already. Quite frankly, that's exactly the kind of situation, if you're a corner, you want to go to. So that, and the fact that he just didn't want to play for the Raiders, no matter how much someone was going to chip him off and pay him, he just didn't want to come to the Raiders. So personally, any free agent that's out there, I'm never going to say, hey, you made a bad decision. You're dumb for making a decision, because at the end of the day, it's their decision, their life, and their money. So he's getting $20 million, I believe 2 years, $20.5 million, something like that from them. Raiders went 3 for 25 or 27, something like that. Some numbers like that. It didn't make sense to me, because when you look at things, Vegas don't have the sales tax. You come in, you're the number one corner on the team, an ascending team, in a brand new stadium, in a city that you own the market, versus going to LA. And if you're from SoCal, the Chargers ain't shit in LA. You know that no one gives a damn about the Chargers. Let's be real about it. Am I lying, Knight, or am I keeping it real?
Dude, that's real. I think I texted you guys out earlier today. I'm like, well, at least he'll be playing in front of the Raiders twice a year anyway, because we already own LA. So he'll be playing for the Raider crowd. For real. So at the end of the day, it don't really matter. Okay, you're going down there, cool. So the Raiders already had a backup plan. They already were talking to people, you know what I'm saying, behind everything. So Eli Apple's a guy that his rookie year in New York, look, let's be real, it sucked. Dude was toasted more than a Jerry's Deli grilled cheese in the middle of June during a Raider parade or a Laker parade. Let's be real. He looks like one of those white chicks on Venice Beach in the middle of July. You know what I'm saying? Just toasted. Okay. So at the end of the day, when you look at everything, Eli Apple, when he went to New Orleans, played better. Now, in the group chat, there was a comment made by someone that knows what's going on in New Orleans, and said that, he, in the locker room, he may not be the best guy. Yeah, but you got to have some guys like that in the locker room, to be quite honest. And that's one or two guys' opinion. That may not be everybody's opinion. But Eli Apple comes in as a number 2 corner. Trayvon Mullen's going to be the number 1 guy. And look, he played well last year. Let's give him a chance to earn it. Let's see if that's exactly what it is, that the Raiders envision him becoming. As if he becomes that guy. So when you look at Eli Apple, that allows Isaiah Johnson and Keyshawn Nixon to grow a little bit more. One of them will be a dime back. I think going into camp is going to be Keyshawn because, quite frankly, he played better than Isaiah Johnson last year, across the board. Special teams, when he got on the field, preseason, and I know Johnson was hurt, but Keyshawn is just a dog. And I know the Raiders love him. I talked to people in the front office about him about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and they love Keyshawn Nixon. They think he is a dude, and they go, we love it. He plays with the chip on the shoulder. So keep an eye on that situation. LaMarcus Joyner's still there. He's coming off an inconsistent year where he battled through some injuries. You got 5 corners right there that the Raiders feel good about, which leads to Darius Slay. Now, this is a guy that we talked about a little bit about yesterday. You got to get him in a trade, first of all. So you're going to give something up. Is it going to be this year or is it going to be next year? That's the big question. So I will say they're in on Slay to talk, but they're not going to give away the farm to get him.
No way.
If you know what I mean?
Yep. It makes sense. We don't got enough.
You're building something.
Yep.
Exactly. You got 2 first-rounders, 3 thirds, a 4th, a 5th, and a 7th. I would expect them to trade back a little bit in some of those rounds to accumulate more picks, or maybe get some guys off the roster like a Gabe Jackson to accumulate more picks.
Yep.
But you're going to have teams that are going to come after Darius Slay hard. Quite frankly, you're going to have teams. I believe the Jets. I believe the Jets because they need help at corner. Buffalo, to someone next to Tre'Davious White on the other side. I can see that. I can see the Broncos coming after him. Look at the teams with a lot of draft picks. Hell, look at
Miami,
Minnesota.
Exactly. Niners got some extra
ones. Miami won't be in the picture. They have the 2 highest paid corners in the NFL right now. So they're not going to with Jones, and so I don't think that. So no matter what, it's not going to be one of those situations where because he wants to trade and get out that they can just say, okay, we're going to do it and snap their fingers and make that deal. He doesn't have that type of power.
Right.
But the Raiders are in the mix and they're talking to teams, and that could be one of those guys like an Isaiah Johnson going back to Detroit in a move like that. I could see something like that. Isaiah Johnson and maybe a 4th or maybe a 3rd rounder next year. So they're really getting 2, a young ascending player potentially and a pick next year. That could be something. But again, they're not going to give up the farm for a guy on the other side of 27 years old that most people consider, quite honestly, a zone corner night.
And I think that's the whole example here. I mean, they really wanted to land Chris Harris. They couldn't get the deal done. The backup plan was Eli Apple. They worked the farm, like you said, to go and get Darius Slay. So this is the insurance policy. I mean, I think they're still in talks to see what it's going to take. The longer it goes, the more favorable it could be for the Raiders to get maybe a Darius Slay and some type of trade for maybe some picks next year. Like you said, Isaiah Jones, something like that. But, he's coming in as a number 2. They want Nixon to be the guy. There's going to be competition over there. So Eli's not guaranteed that number 2 spot, but we needed depth. We needed to get a piece. That's why Chris Harris was in the mix. So going out and getting an Eli and Apple, even though it's probably not, the most favorite pick out of all these pickups we did in free agency this year, it makes sense to me. I'm okay with it because it's going to be competition. And, anytime an athlete gets a 2nd, 3rd chance to prove himself, it only could help the team, not hurt it.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's the big thing, whether or not this team is improving. I'm going to keep going down some of your questions because I know we got the topics to get to. A lot of this is on the same subject. Watts Raider says, loving the roster. They choose 2 players. He had on his free agent video, Mariota and Apple. Apple was somewhat surprising to me. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and tell you,
right.
I wasn't. I actually was in the middle of writing the mock, and I had really was up late last night, and I was doing evaluations and going through the guys that I knew that I wanted to put on this mock and evaluating them, watching like 3 or 4 different game films on each guys that I didn't watch a lot that piqued my interest, and quite frankly was told that these are some guys to keep an eye on. And at the end of the day, I was kind of like, damn, and when I seen it, my phone wasn't near me, and I did it in my group chat before I tweeted it out, and I just recopied the NFL media tweet and said, hey, yeah, this is what's happening. But at the end of the day, I mean, hell, it's not if he can come in and look it, let's be real, he's going to give up some big plays. That's the nature of how Eli Apple plays, but he's going to make some big plays, quite frankly. And part of the problem he had in New York was his parents. I believe he's from Jersey. Right. I believe he's from that area. And it's kind of a LeVar Ball situation. If I remember watching the E60 on him, it was like a LeVar Ball situation where his dad or mom one of them was a preacher, and they wanted some exorbitant stuff from him. There's a lot of pressure on the guy, and it just didn't work out there. So sometimes a change of scenery works, but look, the end of the day, he played well in New Orleans. Some people thought he had a better year last year than Marcus Lattimore, who some consider is him and Jair Alexander, like 2 of the premier young corners under the age of 25 years old.
Right.
And they really felt that like Apple played better than him most of the year. So again, I'm trusting Mike Mayock and what he sees, because he hasn't missed a lot on the guys that he wants.
No, he's a study guy, man. He's a film dude. He watches it. He knows. I mean, he looked at the tape. He knows what they have to talk to him about. He's going to leave it out up to the coaching staff. But I mean, this guy was a top-rated talent coming out in 2016. So, maybe it was that New York was too big for him. New Orleans, it didn't work out. There's a lot of money being thrown around there. Maybe they just couldn't sign him. He ends up being a Raider. Like I said, dude, competition says everything, right? So if he's going to be serious, he's going to come in ready to compete. Or you got guys like Nixon that will take his job.
Exactly. Chris and William, thank you very much. It was his mom, and she would take him to practice. I knew it was something like that. What's up, Big Miggy? Miguel Ruiz, what's up, brother? So let's keep it in the secondary. And a guy I liked coming out of college a lot was Carl Joseph. I liked Cujo a lot. Yep. In fact, I was with TQ at Parkway Tavern off 215 in Flamingo during that draft with my son Peanut. And that was a draft TQ's cousin, Miles Jack, was in. And the joke me and him had was one of our teams is either my team's going to take him, Green Bay, or one of his teams, the Raiders or the 49ers, are going to take him. And he didn't go to any team. And we were texting Miles throughout the draft. And, he was pretty pissed because there's questions about his knee. Yeah. But when the Raiders came up, he was like, oh, yeah, here comes Miles. Miles coming to the Raiders. And then the Raiders picked Carl Joseph. Yeah. Now, me personally, I liked him at West Virginia. The dude was a playmaker. He was a baller. He did everything that we, as guys that coach football, look at the time. And he did it undersized. I mean, he's 5'9", 5'10". And it was like, damn, okay. And then he gets to the Raiders, and just things didn't click. It was either a scheme fit or he just was hurt. And it seemed like at the end of 2 years ago and last year with Abram, things were clicking for him. And then he got hurt. And once that happened, yeah, that was it for his season. I think that was it for him overall. So today he did sign with the Cleveland Browns, or agreed to sign with the Cleveland Browns. And you know what? Like, let's bid adieu to Carl Joseph, quite frankly. I mean, I think he's a guy that he's going to Cleveland on a 1-year deal. And he's a guy that I think is going to go there. Good system fit with Jabril Peppers. They've got 2 smaller safeties now, but two guys that can really go get it. And if he's healthy and has a good year, look for him to go, cash that in and get his bag from somebody. And yep. You never know. He could end up coming back to Las Vegas, depending on who they bring in to play safety, because I was told just prior to this show that while Heath was signed yesterday,
yep,
they still are trying to bring in a safety, or still could draft a safety early in the draft because of the fact that the Heath, they look as a swing guy. And you're right, Peppers was traded to the Giants. I from the Odell Beckham trade. Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
So But the end of the day, the best ability in the NFL is availability.
Absolutely.
And quite frankly, he wasn't available enough for the Raiders, and they made a decision, and that's that. So you can't begrudge it, and you kind of knew the writing was on the wall when Gruden didn't pick up his 4th year anyway, or his 5th year anyway.
Well, that was the whole catch. It was his prove it year last year, and I mean he balled out. The guy's a lunch pail dude, man. He comes to work every day. He grinds. He's not afraid to go up and hit people, even at his size, man. He'll go up there and mix it up with people, and he's a good tackler. Like Carlos Joseph, dude. I really do like him. But at the end of the day, when we drafted him, that was the only knock, and the concern was his size. And when you're a guy that size and you're going up against big dogs every single week, he got banged up a lot. And that was probably my only personal knock with the guy. Yeah, he missed some plays here and there, but don't they all? So he was a good worker, maybe not the best starter, but a great rotation piece, and he'll be missed, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Absolutely. Now, let's use this in perspective right now. They're currently on the Raiders roster, not acquired by John Gruden. Here's the guys that's on the roster: Derek Carr, Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson, Jalen Richard, Eric Harris, Mark Kelly, Nicholas Moreau, and DeAndre Jordan are both unrestricted and restricted free agents, respectively.
Right.
Some of them could stay, but that's only what 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 guys left on the roster.
Cleaning the fridge, bro. He's bringing in his
roster
groceries.
Overhaul.
Yep.
You can't be mad about that.
It happens when head coaches, especially with the caliber of John Gruden, comes in. Doesn't matter who the GM is. He was pulling his own strings. It's just the way it works, man. They had to coexist for 1 year, and then that was it. It's time to clean house.
Exactly. Now, Rodney, I like where you're thinking, Rodney. Rodney says the Raiders need a safety, and you think it's Grant Delpit at pick 19, my safety out of LSU. Look,
we talked about that yesterday.
Look, I think Delpit in a trade back. Let's say the Raiders trade back 19 to like 23, and then you got a team at between 27 and 30. And you pick up a 2nd round pick and a 3rd, you keep the 1st, 2nd, and a 3rd, or whatever, 1st and a 2nd. Then you trade back again, picking up another 2nd, and let's say a 3rd or even a 1 next year. And you're there. Then you take Delpit. Then you could come back up and get somebody else, maybe a Justin Jefferson, if you don't take a receiver at 12. So there's a lot. So I think Delpit could be in play, but I don't know about at 19. But hey, he's a baller. I said last night, I think he'd be perfect next to Jonathan Abram.
It would look nice, but like we talked about last night too. I mean, at this point, in the way that I look at the way they attack free agency, it's still for me, it's still wide receiver and linebacker. Is there a situation where Delpit could be the guy? Of course, man. But I still look at this team, you can't miss out on that linebacker and the wide receiver depth. I mean, that would be the thing. If we got some extra picks and they feel like they can get a Jefferson early in the 2nd or wherever that pick comes up from, I could see them making that kind of move, but it's going to take, it's hard to predict that right now. I'm still going with wide receiver and linebacker there.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, because that's a good segue into my mock draft that I'm putting on Franchise Sports Media, but I need to take a quick break. We do have sponsors for this show. So I'm going to do right now, we're going to take a quick break on Q&A, 2 minutes. In 2 minutes and 5 seconds, we're going to come back and I'm going to tell you what's in my mock draft. I want your opinion, and we'll try to get our phone lines open. This is Q&A with your boy Q and Joe Arrigo on the Silver and Black Pride Podcast Network, powered by SB Nation and on Franchise Sports Media.
Las Vegas, Al's Garage is the perfect location for watching your favorite sporting event, including our UNLV Rebels, Las Vegas Golden Knights, and the brand new Las Vegas Raiders. But you can find your favorite game on most of the time, along with everything you need to make your experience watching it perfect. including awesome service, food, and the best drinks in town.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
Al's non-smoking, family-friendly environment is the perfect place for the entire family to enjoy a night out with great food and watching the best games. Al's is your place for large parties, fantasy drafts, work gatherings, or just meeting for the big game. For gaming customers, Al's offers a great voucher program, so make sure to inquire with the staff when you're there. Al's Garage is located at 11760 West Charleston in Summerlin. Tell them the franchise sent you. John Cutter is a neighborhood drinking and dining establishment that tends to parched throats and empty bellies for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night noshing. The laid-back atmosphere and awesome food is perfect for getting away from the hustle and bustle of the strip. The menu is short and sweet and does the trick anytime, day or night. The steaks are 100% Angus beef and the fish is flown in fresh. No freezers here, so you can be sure that the meal is made from the freshest ingredients available. From steaks and seafood to sandwiches, wings, and salads, you'll have no quarrel with the food, trust me. And stick around, because the later it gets, the more the place percolates. John Cutter's is located at 11770 West Charleston Boulevard in Summerlin. Tell them the franchise sent you.
All right, welcome back to Q&A with your boy Q, who's out this evening. Me, Joe Arrigo, and my man behind the scenes pushing the buttons, my man Knight. You hear him on the Franchise Sports Raiders podcast network as well. And Knight.
Yes, sir.
So we talked about a mock draft last night that I was putting out tomorrow, and we kind of in agreement with, we think the Raiders need a receiver number one, and they need to take a linebacker early.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, I did my mock. I'm gonna give you guys a preview of it. So
cool.
I did this on the draftnetwork.com. So if you guys don't get a chance or haven't got a chance to check it out or don't know what it is, the draftnetwork.com is a network that what they do is they have all the teams. You can put whatever draft that, you pick whatever team you want to do. You can do all the teams, your favorite team. You can do the Raiders, whatever, all their draft picks. And then you pick them manually, but they pick all the other teams ahead of you. Thank you, baby. My girl just brought me another beer because I was out. Isn't that special? So I did it today on the Draft Network, and it's random. So I got no say so on who goes where or whatever. Now I did have two rules. The two rules that I had were I can do no trades because, quite frankly, you don't know what another team is willing to give up for somebody.
Exactly.
And because I don't know what teams are going to take who, I'm drafting, and I'm trying to think like Mike Mayock and taking my best player available at my personally perceived biggest position of need for the Raiders. So let me explain to you. Basically, I'm going to take the best player available at the biggest need that what I think is the biggest need for the Raiders. Now, I want your guys' take on this. God, I wish the phone lines were open.
I know, man. I tried on break too. I'm gonna try it again. Go ahead and start it off. Right, cool. I'll try to fire it up.
So here we go. So my first pick at 12, every receiver was available. Isaiah Simmons was gone. He was my number one player on my board. So I took Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. Now, everybody knows Gruden needs a legitimate number one wide receiver in his offense. He knows he needs it for Derek Carr to have the type of weapons to really make the offense go, and he knows that Jerry Jeudy's a difference maker. Now, I've talked to multiple NFL front office people and scout staff told me, and I said this last night, that Jeudy reminds them of Antonio Brown without the diva attitude and the drama. From route running to hands, the way he sets up his routes, the way he doesn't have to throttle down when making his cuts in his routes, they think he's going to be deadly. So with Jeudy there at 12, I felt like he is the best player on my board at that time. And he feels, to me, the Raiders' biggest position of need. And I'm going to tell you why it's their biggest position of need. Who have they signed in free agency?
All D.
They haven't signed anybody to play receiver in free agency.
Nope.
The Raiders know this is a pretty good and pretty deep draft for receivers, so they can sit at 12, and it very well could be all the top receivers could be on the board, or only one will be taken when the Raiders come up at 12. That's a very good catbird position for Mike Mayock and the Raiders. What do you think, Knight?
I think you're dead on with it, man. I mean, the argument here only could be whether which receiver that you want, right? Like, there's a lot of people that have different takes. People want Ruggs, people want Judy, people want Lamb. You love Jefferson, but when you look at what they did in free agency, all the defensive players, the only offensive piece we picked up was Jason Witten. We can get into that later, but that to me right there screams because they know it. Mayock talked about the red zone. He talked about getting that outside help. They addressed the red zone with Witten. They're going wide receiver number 12. And I say Jerry Jeudy. I like all three. You know, we all have our different takes, but I think Jeudy is going to be fantastic in this offense.
Jeudy to me is the number one wide receiver in the draft. It's CeeDee Lamb, and then to me, Justin Jefferson over Ruggs, because I think Ruggs is really a one-dimensional wide receiver at this point, where I feel Jefferson is a better and more complete wide receiver right now. And I like Jefferson's upside more than Ruggs, being that he's bigger, both in height and in muscle, and he ran a 4.43 at that size. Yes. And the way he sets up his route running is really, really good. 100 plus receptions last year, 1,800 yards or something like that, 18 touchdowns, crazy numbers. Now at pick number 19, there were some guys on the board. There was the number 2 corner. You had Diggs from Bama on the board, but and they had just signed Eli Apple. But I didn't notice that. But the guy on the board that I took at 19 was Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from Oklahoma. Now, coming into this offseason, the biggest need for the Raiders on the defensive side of the ball was the linebacker position. But with the free agent additions that they've added with Kwiatkowski and Littleton, you add Kenneth Murray to the mix, and that gives the Raiders one of the better and more athletic linebacking cores in the AFC, if not the NFL. He's fast, he's physical, he fits what the NFL is today. He can play the pass equally as well as he plays against the run, and he's scheme diverse, which is huge. And keep that in mind when it comes to the draft. Now, if there's a knock on Murray, is he doesn't trust his eyes enough, which kind of leads him to hesitate a little bit, but that can be coached up. He's 6'2", 243, ran a 4.52, and off the field, he's everything you want, the same way he is everything you want on the field. He's a leader. He's a guy that plays for a bigger purpose with his family, and that's huge to me. So I really like, personally, the first 2 picks if in this draft for me that I did on the draftnetwork.com with Jeudy and Kenneth Murray as my top 2 picks in the first round. Night.
Man, again, we've talked about this guy for the past few days. I've been talking about him for a month now. This guy fits the Raiders and what the Raiders need, especially going up against hybrid offenses like the Kansas City Chiefs. And not only is he great off the field, but on his on-field presence, I mean, adding Littleton, adding Kwiatkowski, these are guys, I mean, people might even argue, well, since we got those 2 linebackers, we don't really need to go linebacker there. Maybe we go Delpit. That's where the whole Delpit thing came in, right? But it makes perfect sense to go out there and get Murray to add to this linebacking core. Is something that's been a weakness for the Raiders probably for 2 decades now. So this will solidify the middle of that defense. It's going to help the secondary, and it's going to help the front. It's a win pick for me. When you look at him or Queen, I've always liked Murray. And yes, I have my own personal preferences off the field when it comes to Murray. But like you said, man, ex-safety, played outside, played inside. He's an athlete. He's a baller, and he's ready to work.
John Q, salute, my friend. I'm glad you're with us. In fact, let me salute you one more time. You threw up the glass for me, so I have to throw one back at you, brother.
There you go.
So, and that's the thing. And Watts Raiders right. He could play inside or outside, and that's big for me. And I'm going to tell you why when I get later on in this draft, because I have something else. Now, round 3 came, and when it came to my pick, I was kind of looking to see who's available, and I had 2 people jump out, or 3 people jump out at me, and I drafted 2 of them. I looked at Nick Eason, the quarterback from Washington, and I was like, oh, that I have rated as the 5th best quarterback in this draft coming into the draft. I think Nick Eason's a stud, but Jalen Hurts was right there, right behind him. So I took Jalen Hurts. This is where I kind of deviated a little bit from my board, because I think Hurts is a guy that answered a lot of questions, because keep in mind, he came in the 2019 season with a ton of questions about his passing ability. He went to the quarterback whisperer and Lincoln Riley down in Oklahoma, and he showed he can be the type of quarterback and passer that could be a quality NFL signal caller. Let's be real. Now, he's a winner.
Yes.
He's confident. He won at Bama and he won in Oklahoma. Teammates respect him. He's considered a good teammate and a guy that works his ass off. Those are things you want out of your quarterback position. So if there's any flaws to the game, in his game, there's a few. I mean, he's got to show he could be a quarterback at the next level. He's smart. He's a coach's kid. But to get him in the third round, when a lot of people are thinking he made himself some money at the Combine and at the Senior Bowl, and get to slide up maybe into the second round, to get him in the third round at this pick night, I was pretty ecstatic, because now my quarterback room consists of Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota, and a young guy I could groom in Jalen Hurts.
It makes perfect sense to me, man. We were talking just the other day, and I said Jalen Hurts is more than just picking a quarterback for the future. If you look at the Raiders situation, you got Derek Carr coming in his third year in Gruden's system. We all have really, really high expectations for him. Even the ones now that still didn't want Carr here are going to even put that much more expectations on the guy. But then you go and you get Mariota, who's a perfect backup. You can give him the whole offseason, all the way till the 8th week of the season before you feel like he'd be ready to take his place over Derek Carr. But then to bring a Jalen Hurts in, because Gruden's going to want to groom somebody. This guy can get on the field day one. He could be reading defenses back there as he lines up in a split back formation, running some option plays. He's a guy that you can play, even not at quarterback right away, to make a difference on this offense. Gruden wants playmakers on offense. They want weapons. Jalen Hurts gives you that, and he gives you an opportunity for him to groom to be that quarterback he wants to be in the future. It would be a great pickup.
So if you look at the first 3 picks I have, Jerry Jeudy, Kenneth Murray, and Jalen Hurts. I think I'm hitting a home run right now. If I'm Mike Mayock, I'm hitting a home run.
Raider Nation swigging with you right now, man, I think.
Billy, DJ Epic, former Power 106 DJ in the building. What's up, Billy? Epic, my man. That's my dog right there.
Nice.
So, okay, let's keep it moving. And in the third round, this is going to where you guys are going to be like, damn, Joe, where did you pull this one out of? I talk to people. I talk to a lot of people, and there are certain guys when I watch film, things just jump out at me. And this is one of those guys. If you don't know the name and you don't know who this is, don't watch YouTube clips. Watch clips to get excited. Go back and watch games. Willie Gay Jr., we call him Chip. Chip Gay Jr. from Mississippi State. He's a linebacker. This guy is a dude. When you watch the film, he's the guy that stands out and does a lot of great things. When I mean great things, I mean he makes plays that you're like, damn, I didn't realize this guy is that good, because he's playing down at Mississippi State down in Starksville. He's a guy that comes through and just makes plays. Now, there is some off the field stuff with him. Full disclosure, there's a couple things. He missed 8 games this year off of some things that happened at the end of last year and then beginning of this year. I'm okay with some of those things. I didn't get into them because I'm not going to throw people's dirty laundry out there. And quite frankly, teams will have they already have the information about it. But listening to this guy talk, everybody I talked to at the Combine, this kid impressed them immensely. When I mean immensely, they really think this guy is a guy that could come in and play again. He could play a Sam or a Mike. The same way Murray can play a Will or a Mike. Scheme diversity. This guy is a dude. When I mean a dude, you have to keep your eye on this guy. I'm telling you, he tested in the upper percentile of the NFL draft. Now, I'm gonna give you some stats. He was highly productive. This is what a scout told me. Highly productive, very strong, physical, athletic linebacker who started 6 games at the Will when Mississippi State had the nation's #1 defense in 2018. He started and played in 5 games this year, missed 8 due to 3 separate incidents that happened at Mississippi State during the last 2 seasons. He finished the year with 28 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, a recovered 2 fumbles, and returned an interception, 52 yards for a touchdown in the bowl game. Knight, this is a guy with the leadership the Raiders are putting in place right now. He's a guy that could come in, and in a year or two, you're looking at 4 badass linebackers for the Raiders that one of them may be expendable. One of the 2 guys they signed this year. That's how good this guy could be with Murray. I am high on him. I'm buying him. And he's a guy that to get him where I got him, I'd be ecstatic.
I like to come in here and throw the gauntlet down and just be like, Joe, that's it, dude. That's the guy. But I have to go watch the tape, just like all you guys have to go watch the tape. But everything that you said when it comes to the numbers, this is what this defense is lacking. Turnovers, 2 forced fumbles, a pick 6. This is the kind of guys we need, especially in that linebacker core. Now, I know some people might be asking what's going on with the safety position, what's going on with the cornerbacks, even the defensive end. I think that's why they've dressed it so heavily. They got Eli Apple. They went and got Collins. They went and got Nazeeb. I think this would be a great pick. If there's anything this team needs is linebackers, and these versatile linebackers that could play, like you said, all across the board. They're hybrids. You could use them in different ways. So you got me sold on them already, dude. I just have to go watch the tape.
All right. Before I get back to my next pick, going through this email real quick. It looks as if the Raiders are indeed in on Darius Slay, but they're having conversations.
Okay.
But nothing is concrete. So,
and that would just solidify the pick you just made right now too, right? So you get Slay with Apple, with Nixon. I think we could go heavy on linebacker.
Exactly. So right there, I took Chip Gay Jr., Willie Gay Jr. He got the nickname from his grandma, by the way. And he answers to that more than anything. He's from Starksville. He's from that area. And he chose, like, he had Michigan State and a few other schools, but he chose to stay home. He was young, and his family was able to catch him playing. So I like him a lot. The next guy in the third round, at the third round pick, and this is, again, I don't know, this is way before Slay, potential moves adding Slay after
Right.
Apple.
Correct.
I took Harrison Hand, a cornerback from Temple. Now, again, with Apple, Trayvon Mullen, Isaiah Johnson, Keyshawn Nixon, LaMarcus Joyner, you got 5 right there that could really play. 5 guys that I'm high on. But Harrison is a Mayock guy. He transferred to Temple from Baylor. He's an East Coast dude. He's tough. 6 foot, 192 pounds. Last year had 3 picks, 43 tackles, 1 forced fumble. He came in spring and then earned a starting spot on Temple's defense really quick. Against Maryland, he had his first interception in a pass breakup. And then against, at the time, number 23, Memphis, he recorded a pick, a pass breakup, a forced fumble, and 2 tackle for losses while leading the team in tackles with 9. He's a guy that, quite frankly, fits what Mike Mayock likes in DBs. And keep in mind, Mike Mayock's a former safety. He played safety at BC. So he's a guy to keep an eye on because, quite frankly, East Coast guy, brings toughness, long, athletic, again, fits the bill of today's NFL guys. And I could see him even playing a little free safety if need be.
And here's a guy, too. Now we're addressing the secondary. And regardless if you didn't know about being in on Slay and signing Eli Apple, we need depth. We need ballers. We need some competition there. I think our front has much improved in this free agency process. And even grabbing Slay, you could say the same thing for cornerbacks. But, you know, Apple's on a 1-year deal, right? You're going to bring in guys like this to compete and groom and get them ready for even for the next year, maybe the year after. At this point, it's going to be, you know, we got the wide receiver. You know, you got Jalen Hurst in your draft. So there that solidifies the offensive side of the ball for me, man. I'm all about the defense at this point, whether it's a cornerback, whether it's safety, you know, find another defensive end. But some of the things that stuck out that what you said, man, is, again, tackler. He turns the ball over, aggressive around the football, man. That's what we need. The Raiders haven't had enough turnovers in the past 5 to 10 years that this is time where we get ballers that go out and get that football.
So what's up, Roland Dubs? He says bring Slay to the Raiders of Las Vegas.
Yes.
Brian, you say Willie Gay, you're higher on Troy Dye. Look, Troy Dye's an IE guy. Same area I'm from. My friends down there train him, and a couple of them coached him in high school at Norco High School. I think Dye's gone by then. That's why I didn't take him, and he was gone in the simulator on draftnetwork.com. Reminding you guys, this is all based off of guys in the draft simulator on NFL draftnetwork.com. So we go to round 4, and something that we talked about last night was the offensive guard. Someone called in about that position.
Right.
I'm talking about Gabe Jackson and the potentially, freeing up almost $10 million of salary with Gabe. And Solomon Kinley, an offensive guard from Georgia, was available. And this guy is massive. When I mean massive, he is one of the best guards in this draft. He paired incredibly well with Andrew Thomas and gave the Bulldogs ample punch in the run game on the left side. He has a ton of pop in his hands. He provides a really strong anchor, allowing him to either roll through contact or carry his momentum forward or sit down on charges when he's in pass protection. He's got pretty good feet. He can work laterally pretty well. And, he's worked across the face of defenders and reach situations as well. He's got a ton of mass below the waist, so he's really thick-waisted. He's a guy I like there, and he's a guy that I took in the 4th round. I went offensive guard, Solomon Kinley from Georgia.
Again, I think you could call it a need, especially because if Slay goes down, I'm almost assuming that Gabe Jackson's a part of that deal. Not obviously just guessing, because I know they're trying to dump his salary right now, especially if they're going to land a Slay. So if that's the case, I mean, in that sense, it makes sense. I was kind of hoping right around here is where they might find another backup running back, a complimentary back for Jacobs, or maybe that safety that we can get over the top. But I could see us going offensive guard, making sure that we're solid there, especially as far as depth goes, because we saw last year how important offensive linemen are to this football team and Derek Carr.
Well, and here's the thing. When it comes to offensive linemen, a lot of it has to do with scheme. Like, there's guys that play in one scheme that just completely shit the bed, and there's guys that go to another scheme and they ball out. Like, some guys are better zone guards or zone offensive linemen than they are, power, and then some guys are better in power versus zone. So it just depends on the guy. And I like him with what the Raiders do offensive line wise. So therefore, I went that direction with him. Now let's go to round 5. Hold on, let me get back to it. I'm lost you for a minute. Round 5. Sorry. I don't know. Something happened to my computer's tripping right now.
Uh-oh.
Give me a second, fellas. I apologize to you.
At least we still got your video and audio. We're good.
Oh, that's cool. Well, round 5. Then I read my computer. I don't know what the hell is going on. Here we go. Round 5. Sorry, folks. I wanted to go back to the defensive side of the ball because I feel that's where the Raiders, and I agree with Mayock, that's where the Raiders have the most need, the biggest need.
Need talent, need depth.
Exactly. And here's where I went. Anthony Jennings, defensive end out of Alabama. Now, the Raiders have had issues getting to the quarterback. Signing Nasib, signing and having Mad Max, having Cleveland Farrell, adding my guy Malik Collins, Mo Hurst. Okay, you got some. But Jennings is a guy that aligns as an edge defender, and he did it with the Crimson Tide in their hybrid scheme. I feel he can put his hand in the ground and go. He can stand up and go. He's got very good strength. He's got a lot of pop in his hands to disengage and close in on the quarterback. He's got really good speed. In the run game, he's very heavy at the point of attack. He has really good hand placement, and he can move vertically very well. He's stronger and more powerful than he is explosive, if you know what I'm saying. And then as a result of that, some of his movements are a little more slow twitch. But on third down, his skill set would be get to the quarterback. You put him down in the 3-point stance and let him go. And this is a guy that I think can do it. Now, I don't want to see him in space. I'm going to be honest with you. He gets the saying that I have with defensive guys that I've coached is don't get lost in space. He's a guy that gets lost in space. I don't want to see that out of him. I don't want him in space, but I want him getting to the quarterback. And overall, he's a guy right there. He's a guy that I really like. Again, shoring up the defense, adding some more guys that can get to the quarterback, and giving again more depth, because you'd have him and Arden Key.
Yes.
Now you got really 2 on each side backups, or really 2 and 3. Really, you got 5 guys that can go. Right. And I like that. I like being able to have that type of depth and diversity on the defensive line.
And you said the name that stuck out to me, which was Arden Key. And I'm always going to keep referring back to the free agency guys, because I think it was really methodical what Mayock and Gruden did. They brought in the right pieces. And this guy fits the mold, man. We got Nazeeb because he's going to push Key. We got to, Key is not guaranteed a job right now. He started to come on a little bit last year. And if you watch Key's tape, he was always around the quarterback, maybe a step too late, 2 steps too late. So he's a guy that can get there. He needs to work on his strength and going more inside than outside. But having a guy that you can groom, we got Rob Marinelli. The guy is going to be under good tutelage. He's going to get everything that he needs to get better. And it might not be in year 1. Maybe he's a depth piece. Maybe he's a rotation piece. Maybe he find himself on the practice squad. But this guy will eventually, hopefully, be groomed and either take Arden Key's place or move on from the seat.
Well, I agree with you. And finally, round 7. And I went with the guy here that I know. And full disclosure, I've watched this guy for his entire college career at UNLV. He fits exactly what the Raiders want to do on defense. Not only does he fit what they want to do, he is a guy that's a hybrid. I've watched him line up at safety, both free and strong. I've watched him play inside linebacker, outside linebacker, and at the NFLPA All-Star game, he lined up at corner. His name is Javin White. Mark his name down. Watch his game tape. He is a playmaker across the board. He's an Oakland native, first of all. My man is from the Bay Area, and I'm talking about swag out the door. I mean, confidence. This guy does not, you don't have to hit him with any type of confidence. He's a confident cat. He's a guy that gets out there and gets after it, makes plays no matter what. Like, no matter what the situation is, he's out there making plays. He's just a dude. So when it comes to the 7th round, he's a guy that I could see going undrafted, but the Raiders have an interest in because they were at a lot of the games last year, as were the Packers, as were the Bills, the Jets, and the Steelers. They were at a ton of UNLV games watching Javin. Javin is a dude. He's one of the guys that's going to be hurt by this coronavirus situation because he's not able to get to one of the teams and work out for him. He's a guy that really needed his pro day. And at his pro day, he would have ran in the low 4.4s, maybe 4.3s at 6'2", 215, 220 pounds. I mean, he is a legitimate dude, and he's got the frame to add a lot more weight because he's hella skinny, but he's just a playmaker across the board. And he's a guy that could come in, special teams guy year 1, but he would be pushing guys by the time his first contract is up. And he's a guy that I wouldn't be surprised end up like Lorenzo Alexander, where he went undrafted or was drafted late and then comes in and becomes a starter and then an all-pro down the road. I think that highly of Javin White.
Well, you were talking to me about Javin earlier, and I kind of looked him up, just found some numbers. But at the end of the day, this guy, you're hitting the nail on the head when it comes to exactly what I've been talking about. The Raiders need to do moving forward with this defense and having guys that are movable, guys that can play multiple positions. When the guy goes down, it's the next man up, and this is the guy that can fill multiple needs. Now, you had him listed as a linebacker, and I know we're getting a little heavy there at this point, but the fact that he could play safety, which means he can cover, he played corner, he played inside, he played outside. Number 1, you said it, special teams. Number 2, you got to believe that at some point this coaching staff is going to get the players they need to actually hit that above average level. And this is a guy that when I was looking at it and hearing you talk about, I'm like, these are the kind of dogs I want on this defense. I don't want some guy that's a great middle linebacker and that's it. I want a guy that can move all over the field and cause some hell. because that's what we have to give to the Kansas City Chiefs. You saw it in the Super Bowl, what that defensive front of the Niners did. They just didn't have them kind of same mentality behind it. I think with building these kind of linebackers and safeties, we're going to have the attitude behind the defensive front, and that's how we're going to take out the Chiefs.
I can see them starting them at like, okay, maybe a good fit, a good comp is Cam Chancellor. How he came in and didn't know if he was a linebacker or a safety, but they put him down into the box and he could cover some tight ends and just made plays. That's Javen. He needs to add some weight. He's a little light in the ass, and I joke with him about that all the time. But he's a guy, again, when you look at what the Raiders like to do and what they're looking for community-wise, as well as on the field, off the field, he's that guy. He's been in the Vegas community for 5 years. Everybody knows Javen. He's a personable dude. He goes to all these different elementary and junior high and high schools. He'll talk to the kids. He's very good in the community. You get him on the field, and I wish we had him mic'd up with franchise, or even if if they had him mic'd up, because this dude's mouth doesn't stop. But it's okay because he's just okay. 2 years ago, UNLV had 3 wins, and they were going into the Reno game. And that's the game they play for their it's called the Fremont Cannon. And it was a close game. Reno was up 24-0 going into the second quarter. UNLV came back and they actually took the lead, and they took the lead in the fourth quarter, and they said, okay, like he's on the sideline, and I'm on the sideline next to him, right? So there's a line that separates us from media to the team. And I have a relationship with people. I had a relationship with people at Sam Boyd and the coaching staff. So I would kind of get a little more leeway to be on the sidelines and whatnot. And he's goes, hey, make a damn play. You know what? I'm going to curse, folks. So if you don't like cursing, I'm apologizing. He goes, fuck it. I'm about to get an interception right now. 3 plays later, he picks the ball off. I'm like, damn. So next, UNLV goes down and scores, takes the lead again, or does pins them down the field, comes back, and there's a big play on third down in the corner. Jericho Flowers, who'll be an undrafted guy that is undersized but could be somebody to keep an eye on. Jericho comes up and run support and makes a play that just has everybody going, ooh, and Javen's on the sideline. That's what a grown man does. So as UNLV is going down in the corners there, Javen's like, I'm a grown man. You a little boy. We about to put it on you, little boy. Talking head to the Reno corner. And the kid is losing his mind. Javen goes out there then, and UNLV takes the lead late because it went back and forth. Reno is driving down the field, and Javen drops into coverage. He's in man, but he reads the play well because he's a film junkie. Jumps on the ball, picks the ball off. UNLV wins the game. They win the Fremont Canyon for the second straight year. It was a huge, or for that, to bring it back to Vegas, excuse me, because they have it. They won it 3 times under Coach Sanchez. But for Javen, he literally was talking and willing his confidence into his teammates. That's the type of guy I want on my defense. I don't want guys that are going to be quiet and pussyfoot around. I want some straight dogs out there. And that's what Javen White is.
And Javen White sounds like, and I asked you this before, we had probably maybe a month ago or so, we were talking about how the Raiders being in Vegas now and what that means for UNLV players in general, right? Not only to be watched and looked at, it's going to raise the level of play for UNLV, I believe, because they got to understand that you got a home team, a whole NFL team in town. There's going to be a lot of eyes and a lot of focus, a lot of cross conversation between UNLV coaches and Raider coaches and GMs and things like that. Hey, keep an eye on this guy, keep an eye on that guy. And unfortunately, because of a serious crisis that our country's in right now, a guy like Javen's not going to be able to go and do some of these visits and kind of catch the eyes of people, but that may benefit the Raiders, whether they pick him up in 7 or undrafted. This sounds like this might be a guy that the Raiders bring in no matter what. I'm
telling you, put on the film. If you guys are draft nicks, put on the film and watch Javen White. You're right in this. I agree that there are going to be players. In particular, there's one that jumps out to me when you're saying it. Charles Williams, the running back from UNLV.
See?
Charles Williams, he's out of Fresno, went to Bullard High School.
Okay. That's where my daughter would be going. Bullard.
Yeah, is she?
Yep.
Nice. Bullard strong, baby. Well, Chuck led the Mountain West in rushing last year and ended up finishing second because Wyoming or whomever went to a bowl and the guy outrushed him because of the bowl. But he missed the game because he had a hiccup with his knee. But Chuck Williams is a dude, and Chuck Williams reminds me of a poor man's Reggie Bush. Excuse me.
Mhm.
I mean, catch the ball at the backfield, same build. But Chuck is a football junkie, and he'll be a guy that plays at the next level. He's a guy that I think this move and the stadium and everything else will benefit early on. He's only 1,300 yards away, roughly around there, breaking the school record for most rushing yards in a career. And he missed the season, and he's still on pace for 1,000 yards every year of his college career. So Chuck is a guy down the road to keep an eye on. But let's do this. Let's take another quick break, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to go through all your live comments. We're going to see if the phone lines are working. And once we do, any questions that you have, put them in the comments, whichever method that you're using. If you're on Periscope, if you're on YouTube, however you're watching us, I'm going to myself and Knight will answer them. This is Q&A with your boy Q and myself, Joe Arrigo. We got Knight filling in for Q tonight. And this is on the SB Nation Podcast Network, which is the Silver and Black Pride Podcast Network, and also on franchisesportsmedia.com with the Franchise Raider Podcast Network.
Las Vegas, Al's Garage is the perfect location for watching your favorite sporting event, including our UNLV Rebels, Las Vegas Golden Knights, and the brand new Las Vegas Raiders. But you can find your favorite game on most of the time, along with everything you need to make your experience watching it perfect, including awesome service, food, and the best drinks in town.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yup.
Al's non-smoking, family-friendly environment is the perfect place for the entire family to enjoy a night out with great food and watching the best games. Al's is your place for large parties, fantasy drafts, work gatherings, or just meeting for the big game. For gaming customers, Al's offers a great voucher program, so make sure to inquire with the staff when you're there. Al's Garage is located at 11760 West Charleston in Summerlin. Tell them the franchise sent you. John Cutter is a neighborhood drinking and dining establishment that tends to parched throats and empty bellies for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night noshing. The laid-back atmosphere and awesome food is perfect for getting away from the hustle and bustle of the strip. The menu is short and sweet and does the trick anytime, day or night. The steaks are 100% Angus beef and the fish is flown in fresh. No freezers here, so you can be sure that the meal is made from the freshest ingredients available. From steaks and seafood to sandwiches, wings, and salads, you'll have no quarrel with the food, trust me. And stick around, because the later it gets, the more the place percolates. John Cutter's is located at 11770 West Charleston Boulevard in Summerlin. Tell them the franchise sent you.
Yo, welcome back to Q&A with your boy Q and myself, Joe Arrigo. I don't want to break anything, but I was checking my phone and there's a couple texts from people. The Darius Slay thing, that's got some legs.
Okay, cool.
So keep an eye on that. Darius Slay, the Raiders have some legs. So keep an eye on that one, even with the signing of Eli Apple, which maybe LaMarcus Joyner. I don't know what the cap hit is on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, there might be something there at play. Gabe Jackson, I don't know. It's maybe they have to throw a pick in there, but I think losing out on Chris Harris, I think Eli Apple was a quick pull, cover up, but to get Slay, I think that will solidify that secondary pretty well.
I would agree. So, all right, I'm gonna go through. Let's go through your live comments and let's see if we can get anything Chris Sproul says the way the Raiders players and media people are acting like it's real with Slay. A whole lot of Raiders just started following him on Instagram. Yeah. I really don't pay too much when it comes to Instagram and stuff, to be honest with you. Because look at how people troll people. I think LeBron does it real well. KD does it real well. All right, so Rodney Jenkins. Rodney's my dog, man. Rodney is one of the most loyal dudes and jumps on every time we have Q&A. All kinds of, I do the Periscopes. Rodney's on all the time. Rodney, appreciate your love, brother. He wants to know, Knight, I'll let you go first. He says, would you be opposed to the Raiders drafting Justin Jefferson at number 12?
I mean, just to make my boy mad. Yeah. No. You know what? I trust in Mike Mayock, and Mike Mayock has one of those eyes where he sees talent that no one else does. If you remember, he was the only one screaming Mac's name over Mel Kiper and all the other big guys that you guys will watch on ESPN. It was Mike Mayock that brought Mac to the table. He always finds these guys. Like, he's the guy that picked out Max Crosby and called him Mad Max, and that he was a dog and he could work hard. This is what Mayock does. So if Mayock actually sees that in Jefferson, I don't know about them going 12, though. I mean, that might be a big risk, but that might be one of those situations where the Raiders will pull the trigger and drop back just to get a guy like Jefferson. If that's the guy, he'll be the guy. I
think for me, it depends who's on the board. You know, if I'm being 100 with everybody, who's on the board? Is Judy gone? Is Lamb gone? If they're both gone, and you feel you're not going to get him at 19, but you can get your linebacker or your next BPA, best player available, hell yeah, take him at 12. I got no problem with that. It only takes one team to fall in love with somebody. And you've seen that with, Cleveland Farrell last year with the Raiders. And you've seen that with other players, that get drafted. Mitch Trubisky. You know what I mean? You look at Trubisky, look to move up one spot. Look at the Bears gave up ass to move up one spot because they fell in love with somebody. Right. So, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but with the caveat, who's on the board still? If Judy's on the board, fuck it, I'm taking Judy. Real talk. Like, that's just the reality of it. I'm taking Judy at that spot.
And at the end of the day, too, man, we saw it last year, right? If that's their dude, and they're not, you've heard Mike Mayock say it, some wide receivers don't even make it out in the NFL. They get high grades coming out, but they can't produce. If he has his eye on Jefferson for whatever reason, he'll pull him at 12, the same way that we got Farrell at 7 last year. That's just what he's proven to do already.
That's real. My man, DJ Epic, Billy, what about Michael Pittman Jr.? Hey, B, real talk, Epic. I love Michael Pittman Jr. In fact, I thought, quite honestly, he was the most underrated receiver in college football the last 3 years. What he did at USC was some trash quarterback play up until last year. What he did at USC when he had the opportunity to play, because they kind of like screwed him over the first couple of years at USC. It wasn't until last year he really started to start, and really in the middle of the year before. He's a dog. Third, if you can get one of those third-round picks, I got no problem with him right there. He's a guy that could come in, stretch the field, former player. His dad played for Coach Gruden down in Tampa. He's a dog to me. I really like Michael Pittman Jr. In this mock draft scenario, he wasn't there. And quite frankly, other than maybe the corner I took, that may be the one place that if they get Slay, I'd replace the corner with Michael Pittman Jr.
That makes sense to me. And I was going to say the same thing. I was going to go right back into your draft and say that, when it comes to this draft and free agency, we knew we needed the most help on defense. And I've said it, and I'll say it again. I mean, outside getting some depth on the outside offensive line, we might need a backup complementary back to Jacobs. We need a wideout. We're going to do that early, not necessarily running back, but I could see the Raiders double down on receivers, and Michael Pittman would be one of those guys that would fit in the third round.
So one of the questions that we got was, name the Raiders starting defense right now. I would say it's Crosby, Hurst, Collins, Farrell, Littleton, Kwiatkowski, Mullen, Apple, Abram, Heath, with the other linebacker spot wide open.
The linebacker spot, I agree with you. I'm just thinking about maybe safety wise, Eric Harris is still around. He might compete for that. LaMarcus Joyner around. He might be in there. I think that's going to be the spot to watch at this point, right? I mean, if we go get Slay, I think you could put Slay there. If not, you can pencil in Apple right now because he's there. So pencil in Apple. I think that second safety spot's up for grabs, man. And I know they brought in Heath to do so, to compete for that. But there's some dogs that know this defense already. So that's going to be a fun one to watch in preseason if we get one.
No doubt. Roger Gutierrez wants to know, Roger, are you related to my boy Paul? Yeah. Are you Paul's account? Paul, hey,
he's hiding. He's real talk, in Paul, Roger.
Paul Gutierrez. Paul is one of the most real dudes in the industry. I had a real nice private talk with him at the Raiders name changing ceremony in a couple months ago. Or a month and a half, 2 months ago, whatever it was. And Paul's just a real one. And I'm gonna say this: his gift game is strong with when he's replying to tweets. He's pretty clever with it. So that's my guy right there. But bro, Roger wants to know, what do we think of the D tackle Raekwon Williams from Michigan State? He's a big dude, very underrated late round guy. I agree with that, to be honest with you. He's a guy that was on my board late. I chose Javen because, quite frankly, I want his name out there. This one was a little more personal with me. It's the only one I went personal. Javen's a guy that people need to watch. I don't care, because you do have NFL scouts and executives that do watch my Periscope and actually watch some of the writings and read some of the writings and listen to some of the podcasts that I do. He's a real one. And I wanted Javen out there because they need to watch that film. But Raekwon Williams is a very intriguing prospect that I could see definitely late or possibly a undrafted free agent that the Raiders take a look at.
I think that's what the 7th round is all about. It's that one guy that you may want to make sure that you land. So whether it's a Javen White or this defensive tackle, this to me, it makes the most sense, because we got PJ Hall. He might be out of there. That was brought up again today about getting Collins and how Hall doesn't show enough effort. This kind of guy, a 7th rounder you bring in, he's going to be hungry. So it would make sense to go a big defensive tackle. I mean, once you start really getting out of that 3rd round, I think it's all up for grabs at that point when it comes to defense. Start thinking depth and start thinking, especially when it comes to defensive line in that secondary.
My man Gus says Raiders and Bucks Monday Night Football to start the year. I could see that, but wow. Here's the thing. From what I was told from people inside Park Avenue, the Rams and the Raiders both will have a game in prime time opening weekend of the NFL.
Makes sense. They're going to
take it for what it's worth.
Stadiums. Highlight those stadiums. It makes sense to me.
Ruse 3-2 says, what's the possibility of Gabe Jackson getting traded? If I put a percentage on it, what do you got percentage wise? What do you think, Knight?
At this point, we're getting later into the game, and I know they're going to be eager to move him. I would give it about an 85%.
I was going to say about 80. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. I'll say about 80. It'll be about.
He's got a big contract. He's got some big numbers on his contract, so it's got to be someone that wants him deep.
And but at the same time, the Raiders are saving $9 million,
and they want to move it, especially if Slay's in the mix. That's why I said when I heard you say it has legs, he's the first person I think of, because they spent a lot of money already, man. It's really adding up on him. So to go and get Slay and redo his contract, you would have to think that Gabe's out the door one way or another. That regardless if he moves him or they drop him, they're gonna move on.
When I come back to Vegas, my Raider friends that work with the organization, next time we go out to dinner, or if you're going to take us out to dinner, we're going to go have some type of drinks. Don't spend too much money because it's going to be on you.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, Rodney says we talked about taking Jefferson at 12. Does he have the skill set to be number 1? I believe so. I'm big on Jefferson. I'm bullish on Jefferson, Rodney. To be very honest with you, bro. Epic comes back and says Mullins and the Raiders want Slay. Sounds like Slay wants Raiders. That's kind of what we're hearing. No, I'm not saying release Joyner, Chris. I'm saying he may be some. If I'm not saying that, could they? I don't know what the cap. Again, I don't have the numbers in front of me when I do this. My question was, could he be part of a trade package to bring Slay to Sin City?
Remember, we all like Joyner. However, he was brought in to be that hybrid outside guy to kind of help cover the tight ends and whatnot. He was a down low safety, outside linebacker, hybrid nickel player. That's the word I'm looking for. So I could see them if they really want to solidify with all the safeties and stuff that are coming in here. He is expendable. Not that they want to get rid of him. I'm not saying that, but if they could solidify the other side of the field with Slay, I mean, it's a win-win for this team. We have to think big picture here.
L. Rock Jr. with the linebacker additions and assumption they sign a starting cornerback. What about CD at 12 and Grant Delpin at 19? Look, wow. I think Judy's better. What'd you say, Unite?
So they're going right back to Delpit. He's a big topic tonight.
He is. You know what? Look, this isn't a knock on Lamb. I just prefer Judy. That's me. Judy, Lamb, Jefferson are my 3 best receivers in this class. That's I kind of made that clear. The sleeper is the kid Rieger from TCU in the 2nd or 3rd round if he slides. He's a sleeper. He can, that dude can play. But I don't know about 19 for Delpin. You know, honestly, I like his game. I said it last night. I'll say it again tonight. I like him as a safety. He's a dude. At 19, if I can move back and get a couple picks and ensure that I get him, I do that 100%.
In my opinion, it's all set up for Murray, and I could be wrong. And you know, Lamb, you know, this receiver talk, it could go so many different directions. It's all about preference. You love Jefferson. I've been on the fence with Ruggs and Judy. I like Ruggs' speed. I guess I come from that old school Al Davis way of thinking. Oh, he's fast, take him, right? But again, man, Delpit, it's a guy that I think would fit this defense. But bringing in Heath, having Abram, you know, we'll see what happens with Joyner, having Eric Harris. I don't think that that's something they pulled the trigger on right there. I still say it's a linebacker or a wide receiver, depending on how they fall.
Yeah, I'm more of a, again, Judy, and if you can get if you don't get, if Murray goes and Queen goes and you can get somebody, again, you can get Gay a little bit later. Take Delpit if you can trade back a little bit, you know, accumulate some picks.
And if it's Lamb, and if it's Lamb and Murray, man, we're kind of setting that trend that we just favor certain schools in the first of the draft, don't we?
So I'm gonna tell y'all, like I said,
and then it was Oklahoma. Now it's, you know, who's going to be next year.
I'm gonna tell y'all, like I said last night. I was told that Kyler Murray is pushing the Cardinals even after adding DeAndre Hopkins. I was told he is pushing for them to add CD Lamb to that receiving core because he feels that could put them over the top offensively. That could they're picking 9th. That could very well be in play for them at 9. And CD Lamb has been on record saying he patterns his game after DeAndre Hopkins. So keep in mind, people say, "You're crazy, Joe. What the hell are you talking?" Larry Fitzgerald's going to be retiring in a year or 2. So it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense to keep the receiving core, keep it moving. What did Bernie Mac say when he said Jesus was talking about whatever? And then they said Jesus turned water to wine. Huh. Keep the party going. You know, that's what you got to do with your receiving core. Keep the party going.
And I said this, I think it was last night. I can't remember if we talked about it on air or not, but I'm telling you that is deadly. That is, I could see, you know, quarterbacks have a lot of pull, man, and they invested a lot in Murray, and it would make sense. This is an offensive league, man. It's a passing league, and it would make sense if you're going to take Murray to the next level to do Hopkins, Fitzgerald, and Lamb. Man, I'd like to see that in the NFC West, man. It'd be pretty crazy.
So Rodney has a really good question. He says, because of the situation with the coronavirus, will the NFL give the draft to Vegas again soon because of the situation? Okay, look.
I would think so.
All right, look. We family here, so I'm gonna talk. We family. I'm gonna tell y'all we family. So I'm gonna tell y'all like a T.I. is during this Q&A with your boy Joe and your other boy Knight, because Q is doing something tonight. Now I'm gonna tell you guys something that's been floated about is the 2022 draft back to Las Vegas. I know Green Bay says that Kyle Kuzino, who's the unofficial mayor of Green Bay. Kyle is as plugged into a lot of things when it comes to anything Green Bay, and he's got no ties to the Packers organization. He was told that Green Bay was getting a 2022 draft by somebody, and he tweeted it, and that's what caused a firestorm of tweets about a month ago. But I was told behind the scenes, now with this happening, it's very likely the Raiders get the 2021 Pro Bowl in Vegas, the 2022 draft, and the 2025 Super Bowl. Arash Markazi, a good friend of mine with the LA Times. I've known Arash, for years. The best dude in sports media. Okay, I'm just being real. Arash is the best. Arash heard the same thing, and he actually reported it. So keep an eye on that. I think you can see that happening. 2021 is in Cleveland. They come, and again, why have it in Cleveland?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the fans are pretty rowdy, but that's about all you're going to get out of Cleveland. But it would make sense. Okay, look, I know Vegas is primarily set up for these kind of functions, but they still had to probably invest some money into the Strip, into some of the layout. There was money that was spent to NFL standards to host a draft, just kind of like they do with the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl. They're gonna have standards they want met. So money spent, advertisement spent, a lot of fans from all over booking hotels, flights, the hype. It just for me, it makes sense that they would bring it back sooner rather than later. And I think every other city in the world is going to understand that, considering the situation that we're dealing with at hand. Number one, I also heard there was a tweet that came out that Major League Baseball is canceling their draft for 2020.
Yeah.
What? So you don't. Is it? When do they hold their draft?
June, I believe. It's June because it's right around the College World Series, and this was going to be the first year that they had the players. They're going to have it in Wichita. Some of the players be there for the draft.
So they're going to do it NFL style.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense to me now because I'm like, oh man, don't tell me that they're trying to put the heat on the NFL for canceling their draft, man. So I didn't want that. I didn't want that to be a plan B.
Okay, so source just told me that any deal with Slay will involve Gabe Jackson.
That makes sense.
Who the Lions have big interest in.
Well, there you go. I think that makes sense. I think the only holdup right now would be probably maybe something else they want with that, maybe a little pick. But we got to redo his contract, so that should almost be an even trade. They shouldn't ask for too much more than that.
Well, no, they're going to get a pick for him. It depends where it is. My boy Sean in the Yay area says draft Jalen Reagor in the middle rounds. Look, here's a deal with Reagor. I love his game. Like, he's a dude, slot guy, return kicks and punts, will give that dimension to special teams. The thing is, he didn't run as fast as I thought he was going to run. I mean, he's 5'10". He came in at like 206, which is a little heavy for me at the combine for him. But the 5'10" or 5'11" was big because a lot of people thought he'd come in at like 5'9". He's explosive, and you've seen it with his broad jump. You've seen it with his vertical, but he ran like a 4.4 something. He needs to be in the 4.3s. If there was a pro day at TCU, he probably would have ran in the 4.3s because he would have cut that weight. He's not going in. He's not going much lower than the second round because I know teams late in the first round that really, really like him. So you're looking at a guy that's going to go somewhere in the first two rounds. If he's there in the third, you jump at him. But if he's not, which I don't expect him to, he's not. I just don't think he's going to be there.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward at this point. Think defensive heavy. That's just where I'm at right now. I think they put an emphasis on that. I think they know that their offense is right on the cusp. I really believe that the Raiders feel like they're a wide receiver away from being a really explosive offense, and obviously play calling has to be a big part of that. So I'm, TQ was on last Friday night, and it was up to TQ. He said, "I want all defense. I don't care about anything. I don't care about this one wide receiver. He wants all defense." And I think he'll get most of his wish. But yeah, that's where I stand on that.
He was sipping too much Moscow Mules. I'm telling you, that's my best friend. That's my ace right there.
There's two offensive players, man. Two offensive players at least. TQ. Come on now.
Well, Real Raider 2055 put up something I find interesting, and I think, and if that's true, which I'm going to take you for your word that it is, that's big. If traded, LaMarcus Joyner is only a 1.2 million hit versus a dead versus the dead cap,
and that gives us trading power. But I know they want to keep him. I don't think they're looking to move him per se.
Yeah, but that is a post June cut. So, according to Chris Sproul, man, Chris, you're on point with this stuff, bro. I'm gonna give you credit. That's some good shit. Moving down, Steven Johnson would love to trade for Slay, but what expense? Gabe in a third, 16 million a year corner. That's soon to be 30. That's true.
This is where you would think that they're going to be high on Nixon and hoping that he catches up to the, right now. I mean, Vegas, inaugural of the year. I mean, corner is something that we've been struggling at. I mean, you're giving Gunther another year. You're all in at this point, and you're all in free agency, and it's been there. They wanted Chris Harris, they didn't get him. I think that's pushing their hand a little bit with the Slay deal. I don't know. I'm hoping it's not a third they have to send. I'm hoping maybe it's the fourth.
Look, you brought up Gunther. I know he caught a lot of shit last year for the way the defense played.
No talent.
But if you look at across the board, they actually played better numbers wise. If you're a stat geek,
and they especially played better with Perfect in there too.
Exactly. So again, Gunther didn't do. I mean, you can't expect chicken soup when you're cooking with chicken shit. I mean, let's be real about it.
Where'd you pick that one up? That was good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is. So, I'm interested to see with the influx of talent that Gunther has, what's going to happen, because let's be real, Rod Marinelli has been a defensive coordinator and a successful one.
There's another reason why he's in the house.
So the heir apparent could be already in the building. So, one of the questions we have here, one of the things, or it's a statement, can't have deep receivers, Carr won't throw to him. Rich, I don't think that's right. That ain't right. I think that look, DC wants to throw the ball deep. He's got a cannon for an arm. Anybody that's got a strong arm, as someone that played minor league baseball, as someone that could throw the ball in the mid-90s, I love to show off my arm. I loved it. Like, I loved it. Give me the opportunity to throw a football or to throw a baseball or do something. I loved it. He would too.
And I've said this. I've said this. I didn't mean to cut you off, Joe.
Go ahead.
I've said this, man. Like when I was evaluating Derek Carr, and I listen to everybody, and I get it. When you watch it, he doesn't throw the ball deep enough. But how much of that is Derek Carr, and how much is that him towing the line? He's a Gruden grinder, right? He likes Gruden, and Gruden's really hard. And Carr is who he is, man. He's reading the reads. He's doing his job. So I think it's two ways with that, Rich, right? You have to have your head coach who's calling the plays open up that playbook for him to showcase that on. That's number one. Number two, if it's not happening from the play calling standpoint, I know Carr has a lot of say when he's reading defenses. Gannon used to do it. Watch the tape, man. Every once in a while, you just got to do what you see, man. Go for it. Sometimes Carr got to play in the moment. He's the quarterback. He's the one out there on the field. So I wouldn't put that all on Carr is what I'm really getting at. I mean, he's doing his job. He's going through his reads, and he's being safe. And, it's a 50-50 thing for me.
So I'm gonna keep it moving. Oakland Raid says, do we know why the Raiders haven't announced the Mariota contract? Quite frankly, it's because they don't want to yet. His agent and us media haven't gotten together with it, and with the way the NFL is now because of the coronavirus, we can't, or there's not enough information for me to release, because I try to vet my information with at least 2 or 3 people, and I can only vet it with one. I'm not going to release that information, so I'm not even going to put it out there. What I heard, I know I've talked to people privately where we've shared text and DMs and emails with each other, and we've heard similar things, but we're not comfortable enough just to put it out there for everybody to see it, because if we're wrong, then we get flamed for it.
Right.
Let's keep it moving. Hey, Chris, DM me on, or tweet at me on Twitter, Chris Bro, tweet, and then I'm gonna follow you and I'm gonna DM you. I want to talk with you. Let's keep it moving. Epic says we forgot about Isaiah Johnson. We're the best ability is availability, and he wasn't available a lot last year. But then when he did get in, he wasn't as good as Keyshawn Nixon. Let's be real, okay? Epic, let's be real, bro. So if it's me, I'm looking at Keyshawn Nixon as a starter over Isaiah Johnson. If that was, if we're going between those two, and I think Keyshawn showed more on the field, even though Johnson was drafted.
Well, that's the thing. You just got done saying yourself, you want to vet your information before you want to make sure you got it all lined up. We don't got enough on Isaiah Johnson right now. Like he's got to come into camp and he's got to show it. But if we're talking right now, you have to go with Nixon. He's got to be the guy you're talking about at this point.
Yeah, Rich the Raider thinks Nixon's going to take the nickel spot. Hey, look, real talk. Me personally, because Keyshawn's a good friend of mine. He trained with my son in Vegas. I love Keyshawn to do that because that's my dog. I always want to see my dogs eat.
Well, with Slade maybe coming in, that'll have to be there where he gets to eat.
Yeah, but look, you'll have Mullen, Slade, Apple, Nixon, Johnson, Joyner. There are 6 corners.
And then you still got Kwiatkowski, and you got Littleton, and you're probably going to end up with Murray or Queen or another linebacker in the draft. This defense is taking a major upgrade, guys. Gunther's not going to have no excuses this year.
Ruse 32, he says, I think we should take a long look at A.J. Dillon if he's there in the third. He's 250. Sledgehammer, that would be an outstanding compliment to Jacobs. Would be Gruden's all-star Zach Crockett. They love Ingold. And they put the tenure on the other fullback as well today, a second-round tenure. So, I mean, they don't want to lose him either. You know what I mean? So, I would like two fullbacks in Gruden's offense.
Yeah, he likes those big guys down low. And we saw what Jacobs could do. He could do it all. And, the one thing that I think that even I've missed on and don't talk about enough is the fact that they do love Jalen Richard. And you watch what he did last year, even at his size, the guy can make it happen. When you get down, if something happens to Jacobs, you're not necessarily going to use Jalen Richard at the goal line or inside the 10, but that's what you use your big fullbacks for. So, maybe we put too much on getting another complimentary back that's going to fit that big bruiser style that we keep talking about. But I mean, they could literally go with what they got. Worst case scenario, if no one picks up D-Wash, he ends up back here. And I haven't heard or seen his name out there. I might have missed it, but I haven't seen his name picked up out there yet.
No, he's a guy that's probably coming in a little bit later.
Yeah,
when it comes.
Running backs usually go like third week, right?
Well, no, look, Melvin Gordon hasn't been signed yet, and that guy's a year off a 1,200 yard year. Again, I'll watch Tampa Bay for him, folks. That's just me. Here we go with Zay Jones had 0 drops and led the league in uncatchable balls thrown. Rich the Raider. That's true. That's true, Rich. And I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, teams don't scheme for him. Teams don't try to stop him. So because of that, I find it, you got to have weapons. And look, at Philip Dorsett's a name to keep an eye on if you're Raiders fans. I know my girl Josenia Anderson JoJo put it out there. She talked to his people. Dorsett wants an opportunity. Also, with him, Tampa Bay is going to be in the mix with him because his relationship with Brady. But I don't think Zay's going to be that. Zay is a 3 or a 4, and you got a 3 with Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
So now he'll be a 4. And then you got Doss and
my boy Rico Gafford.
Yeah, Gafford. So I mean, and then let's say you draft somebody in the first round, or you draft 2 guys in the draft, you double down. You're gonna have some decisions to make, and they're not. I think Doss is pretty safe considering what they paid him to bring him back from Jacksonville after they released him surprisingly at the end of camp last year.
Well, he was a guy that could play all over, and if Tyrell Williams goes down with anything, I think hopefully he makes that next jump, and he could be a fit right there.
No doubt. Rodney says with the thing for him with Derek Carr is he doesn't extend plays in critical moments. If he can change that and deviate from what Gruden calls at times, he can be more successful. Well, excuse me, but Rodney, this is where you're going to be pissed at me. But he extended the play in the final home game when he slid after he got the first down, and they screwed the Raiders out the spot, and then we know what happened there in the final game. Like, he can extend the play. It's just him having the confidence to do so. And again, when you're coming off 2 years of injuries, when you played with, coming off a year with the broken ankle, then you had the broken back that you played with. Last year, he had to get comfortable. And I think you started to see him get a little more comfortable at the end of the year when he was starting to sling it a little bit. And look, week 1 against Denver, Tyrell Williams burnt the hell out of the Denver secondary with them deep balls. I mean, I was watching it with TQ in the Link Promenade at a Mexican restaurant, drinking beer and eating tacos with our families. So, we were hype about Jay Schrader was there, Napoleon McCallum was there. We're all watching the game, high-fiving each other. So he can throw the ball and he can do those things, but the weapons, they got to do something to get open. They got to do something to help him. They got to help him help himself.
And as far as I go, man, I am Derek Carr out, bro. Like I am. It's been 2 years of just nothing but what ifs and 50-50 with this guy. And look, at this point, he's going to be the quarterback this year. And I'm with everybody. Like I said, we'll see what he does, man. But until he drops the ball again this year, he's our QB.
Let's go to Ruse 32. He said, if Derek Brown, the big D tackle, falls down to 12, is there any way you pass on him? He's just too good to pass in his opinion. Hanking is a free agent, 2021, and Hall and Hurst. They've underwhelmed. He and Collins would be potent. Look, Brown could go top 5. Like, he's a dude. Like, he's not getting to 12. Like, let's be real. If we're keeping it 100 with each other, he's not getting it to 12. Ain't no way in hell.
Playing the what if factor, dude. Like, even if he did, I could see that though. Only because, again, we were talking about how we're a 4-3 defense, but we play nickel. Nickel's our prime, especially with all these hybrid tight ends we face, even in the AFC West. So I could see them being okay and taking a guy like D Brown, and you still got LaMarcus Joyner on the team, and he's playing the nickel with the 2 Kwiatkowski and Littleton in there as our starters. So I mean, that is a possibility, but I mean, I don't know. It's going to be hard to just not go linebacker at that point. I'm still stuck on the linebacker.
Well, I'm saying at 12, Brown ain't getting to 19.
Nah,
okay,
he's not. Yeah, he's not getting a 19. No, there's no way.
But at 12, I think it's unrealistic. But if he was there, you got to pull the trigger. You're gonna have top 5 talent in the draft. I mean, you don't. I mean,
it would make sense. It would make sense. You're gonna go play nickel anyway. You put one of your safeties down low or another corner anyway. So, I mean, that's. I think again, it goes back to the free agency. They really set themselves up for whatever they want to do, especially with pick 12 and 19.
Hey, Epic, if the Peterman, I'm telling you, brother, Peterman ain't going to be there if they draft Jalen Hurts and they got Mariota. And
there's a reason they just gave him a tender, not a contract.
Big time. But if they don't draft a quarterback, Peterman's going to be the 3rd. Trust that, brother. I do a horrible Gruden. Horrible.
Was that supposed to be Gruden? Yeah, that was pretty horrible. I thought you were trying to be a pro wrestler or something, dude. I don't know. I thought you were trying to be more Hulk Hogan than anything.
Oh, yeah, brother.
See, that's a little better.
Macho Man Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah. Foster Moreau, what's the latest on his recovery? Hey, they signed Jason Witten for a reason. They want to give him some time to heal. I think he's going to be a PUP guy. And then get him back a little bit later in the year and then give them some options.
I really think, man, I saw it all over Twitter since yesterday. Man, people do not understand the Witten pick. And I'm like scratching my own head at these people like, come on, guys, look at big picture. Sometimes we just look at that starting 11 and we think it has to only fit that mold. Again, man, Moreau needs to heal. And this gives him the opportunity to do that. And you heard Mayock say it himself. We sucked in the red zone. We need to get better. Witten automatically does that just instantly. And I talked yesterday about what it would be like, because we run 2 tight end sets a lot, having Witten and oh my goodness. My gosh, why is his name missing?
Moreau?
No.
You're talking about Waller?
Waller. I wanted to say Waller. I got the V stuck in my head. When you got Witten and Waller on either side, that's a dual threat you have to respect. Plus Jacobs in the backfield. This is the kind of mismatches Gruden likes. Gruden likes to mix it up. Gruden likes to move things around. And Witten, just knowing that it's Jason Witten is going to mess with defenses' heads.
In the red zone, Witten's going to be
on an off year. On an off year, 8.4 yards per catch. On an off year for Jason Witten.
$4 million, man. 4.75. He's going to make his money in the red zone. Bottom line, he's going to make his money in the red zone, in the locker room, and a lot like Hunter Renfrow on third down when they need a big first down.
Yep, first downs and 6 points all day. It'll change everybody's mind.
I actually really dig the Witten signing. Look, the only signing that makes me kind of go,
I know which one. Well, I know what it is for me.
It's Eli Apple. That's the only one.
We're on the same page. Only because to me it was a little bit of a panic move. They didn't know what the deal was going to be for Slay at this point. I still think they're panicking. I think they said, grab Apple while we can. Let's try to work this Slay deal because we need that help. Because I think they were all in on Chris Harris.
They were all in on Byron Jones. Right. They offered more money.
And you look down the list. They lost Jones. They lost Harris. At that point, I think they just wanted a body and they grabbed Apple because they don't know if they're going to get Slay. We still don't know if that's going to be a done deal.
Look, he caught 63 balls, which would have led the team in receptions. I think he had 2 fewer touchdowns than Tyrell Williams last year. You know, he's a baller, you know, and he did it coming out. Look, if the Raiders have anything going for him right now, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, is they got dudes ready for TV with Mayock, with Gruden, and with Witten. All right. They got the previous 2 Monday Night Football analysts, and then they got the best draft analysts that did it running the team. So they got guys that are good in front of a camera.
Hey, maybe they picked up Witten so we'd be better on Monday night.
Oh shit. Hey, they beat Denver on Monday night, bro. Like opening night, like at the Coliseum. Like I know.
Hey, and think about Witten in that locker room. Think about Witten for Moreau. Think about Foster Moreau, not only just giving him time, but just being there, helping Foster Moreau get to that next level. You know, Waller needs some help blocking too, man. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you already know that the guy's a dynamic route runner and catcher, and he can make some plays. But Witten's going to be a big help to our tight end core, period.
No doubt. Well, folks, that's it for tonight. Q&A, an hour and 45 minutes. Appreciate you guys listening. Knight, thank you for filling in for Q.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. We'll do it again tomorrow night, doing our own thing. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, man. Yep.
You know,
we'll see what happens tomorrow.
But Q had a family emergency. Keep Q in your thoughts and prayers. Look, guys, and I know I joked around a lot tonight, but as I look into the camera, for those of you who are watching it live on Periscope or YouTube, look, we're in a situation that we gotta take serious. I know the area that I live in, that I'm in right now, not the area that I live in the area that Jay lives in. It came through tonight that starting at midnight, the only way we're supposed to leave the houses or areas is for grocery shopping, emergencies, things of that nature. It's almost like a lockdown.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, take care of your families, man. If you guys feel like you guys have something going on with the coronavirus, go to the hospital, get yourself checked, quarantine yourself. Let's get through this thing together. Let's get back to a normal life the best way that we can, the fastest way that we can, because it's disrupting our life, everyday life. And quite frankly, this is some like Walking Dead type stuff to me. And the only way to do it is if we get through this together and we kind of unify and we cut the division out as a whole, as a race, as a human race. Let's get in this together. Let's lock arms and let's defeat this thing so we can get back to a regular life and we can get back to doing what we love to watch and do best, which is spend time with our family and sports. So on behalf of everybody with Franchise Sports Media, with SB Nation's Silver and Black Pride Podcast Network, I'm Joe Arrigo. This has been Q&A, and I see Farrell Hester jumping in the building. And Farrell, I must stare harder for you, bro. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week on Q&A. Hopefully Q will be with us, and appreciate you guys. God bless you. And again, thank you for joining Q&A.
Stay ready strong.